Run With Chestnut.
All right, this is Run With Chestnut, episode 6. Today we're talking about a book that I'm sure a lot of people have read. Might not be the usual book that we've read, but it's basically, well, whatever. It's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, two guys who served in the Navy. It's a leadership book, and it combines lessons learned in the field, in military training, and like war applications with more civilian like business alternatives. And today we are joined by Simon from Brooklyn. Hello, Simon. That's all you got to say.
I'm Simon.
We'll see if Simon keeps coughing today. And we're joined by Andrew from the Bronx. Very, very Bronx, dude. Okay, cool. I'm like I'm like the ham between you guys' butts.
That sounds really.
That sounds really. Okay, never mind. Moving on. You know, you're the Bronx. You're the top bun. I am
the middle
in Manhattan, aka lower, and then Simon's in Brooklyn. So I'm not cheese. So basically, we need to find someone in like Harlem, which is above Manhattan. Okay, cool. Anyway, moving on. We've definitely started off perfectly. What'd you guys think? Okay, so Simon, you read this whole book.
More or less.
Andrew, you read the first part. And if anything, it's a good thing that you didn't read the whole book, because you can weigh in from an outsider's perspective on the second and third parts of this book, based on what Simon and I present to you.
The second and third part.
Well, okay, so let me outline it for a sec so that we get an understanding. So it's basically, the book's broken up into 3 parts, right? And within each part, there are chapters, and then within each chapter, there are 3 sections. So each part is basically, so the first part's winning the war within, the second one is laws of combat, and the third one is sustaining victory. Okay, and within those 3 parts, there are chapters, each chapter containing a specific like leadership principle or leadership practice. And then within each chapter of the leadership practice, there are 3 sections. The first section is like a story from a military training thing or like a war thing. And then the second section is them like explaining it in plain terms. And then the third section is like a civilian application, right? So we thought it'd be an interesting idea to pick our favorites, like one favorite chapter or one favorite practice from each part. And see, first of all, I'm very curious to see if we all pick the same ones or not. And we could just discuss and see where it goes. Sounds good? I will say, before we start with the first part, this was pretty... So I've done a few different leadership courses and things like that, right, through work. And the one refreshing thing about this book was that it didn't center around the usual like leadership traits like personality traits.
I wouldn't know what those
that are often outlined in like compelling, is a compelling leader, or I'm doing a very bad job of
proper communication between you and your coworkers.
Well, it kind of does emphasize proper.
Does a good job of like inspiring my team with the vision of this company, or I don't know, like
present a good image.
Supports people. Like it's good. It's
right.
Yeah. It's well intentioned, but I feel like it's kind of disjointed in the sense that it doesn't fit. It doesn't actually tell you how to do it. It just tells you what to do. Versus these, it's more, I think, encompassing, which I found cool. But anyway, cool. Let's start with the first part, which is winning the war within.
Not it.
I'll go.
All right, who wants to go?
He said not it. I said I'll go.
Say again?
I picked B.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Simon. Oh,
okay.
Perfect.
Can I guess which one you picked?
The one I picked. No. Well, yeah. Okay. Tell me. What did you pick? Where did I pick?
What were the extreme and belief? And what was the fourth part again? Fourth chapter, decentralized command. No, the fourth
Decentralized
chapter.
Command, I think.
No, the fourth chapter. Yeah. No, that was
wasn't that decentralized command.
that was in part 2. Shoot.
Hang on. I have the book right here. Check the ego within.
Check the ego within.
Right, let's have Mr. Zhang.
No, I'm guessing you picked no
Check
bad
the
teams,
ego.
only bad leaders. Oh, okay. Which one did you pick?
Nope. Boom! Now I'll tell you what I picked, but let's talk about yours first. So since you picked it, tell me, give me like a summary. What is it?
Why? Why are we doing what we are doing? And as a leader, the whole principle of believe is to make sure you're first you gotta believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then you gotta make your team understand why you are doing what you're doing. So when you're giving instructions, you got to make them understand why they are following the instructions that you give them.
That makes sense. Why'd you pick this one?
Because often and not. So I'm starting to be a teacher, correct? And so if I'm going to explain some concept to my students, okay, how many have you guys had teachers where they assign you some work and you're like, why do I need to know this?
Yeah, most of
basically.
public school.
And were they ever
education.
able to answer that question effectively?
Yeah, the good ones.
Some were, and those were the best teachers.
So I figured,
And
wow, this is all of these principles are useful, but I really liked this one because even sometimes when I plan certain concepts or certain lessons, I have to ask myself, why do I want my students to learn this? Why is it important for them? I'm not just going to have them do it just because it's been done before, and that's the tradition in which teachers follow in doing these concepts. I need to know, and then I need to explain to my students, this is why this is important.
Right, because especially like if you can't explain that, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, right? Yeah, that's a very good point. I thought about it. No, we'll see. That's cool. Have you identified, like, has there been a time in your life where you see this not happening? Basically,
what do you mean?
Basically, a time in your life where, like, right now you're thinking back, you're like, oh man, like I wish either a teacher was telling you to do something without properly explaining why it's important, or you needing to, or like you trying to explain to like one of your students to do, or
yes,
telling them to do something without
before.
actually,
I have done
like,
that
you know
before.
what I mean? Like, is there
to students, and I have had teachers do it to me.
students?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks, right? Yeah. Okay. Bam.
good.
That's good stuff, man.
Sure.
Andrew, you want to go?
I didn't think that people would pick a different part, I guess. But the one chapter that I took the most away from would be there are no good or bad teams. There are only good or bad leaders.
I like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one, I believe I especially connect with that and sympathize with that one because oftentimes I feel, especially when I was younger, as way back in middle school, elementary school, a lot of the things I did were heavily influenced by my attitude towards the issue at hand. And the book makes an empirically proven scenario where the attitude of the
Your mic cut out, dude.
Any better?
No, I think you unplugged.
Okay. My bad.
There you go.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
in elementary school, middle
When you
school,
were
a lot
elementary
of things
school,
I
middle
did
school?
was heavily influenced by my attitude, and there's literally a scenario where they empirically prove that the attitude of the leader in these team exercises, where they're carrying these robots and doing these incredibly strenuous obstacle courses and training exercises, that the attitude makes a whole world of difference between the performances of either team. And it starts with the leader and there's a feedback loop, so that even a person who thought he was being negatively influenced would get influenced by the good attitude or the idea of owning up to your own effectiveness. So that's
yeah. Do you remember this
Yes.
part, Simon, or do you remember this chapter? Yeah, it was very. I mean, it's such like a typical, like the stereotypical scene or like image of SEAL training is like these dudes carrying rowboats on their, or like these inflatable boats,
how,
right?
Like in the
and
the Group 6, the leader from Group 6, he switched them out because the leader from Group 6 wasn't doing a very good job.
right, they put the poor leader with the good team, and the good leader with the poor team, and all of a sudden the good leader with the poor team started started winning, right, and then the poor leader with the good team started losing. So it's you're right, exactly, Andrew. It's attitude, it's leadership, right?
It was the poor leader with the poor team. They came in last, and then when they swapped teams, the person who used to lead the team in last place, they actually began coming in second. But it's like a substantial improvement. But it shows that the person who was a good leader all along still had the upper hand. He always came first. Yeah.
Right. Which, and also, I mean, this goes on to like another chapter later on, but the whole idea of like ownership, the poor leader with the, let me see if I get this right. The poor leader who was losing with the poor team looked at the good leader with the good team and was like, oh, if I only had those guys, I wouldn't be losing. Right. So like, instead of taking ownership on himself, he basically blamed it on his own team. So then when they switched out the leaders for the different teams, he started losing, or he kept losing, right? He didn't start winning.
Place.
So it's, no, I mean, when they switched out the poor leader and then put him with the good team, that good team all of a sudden started losing.
They started doing worse.
Or doing,
and also he found himself beginning to struggle to catch up with his fellow teammates because they already were holding themselves to a higher standard than he was used to.
Right. Because they were used to the other leader.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, leadership, good. Cool. I chose
the first chapter.
Namesake of the book.
Yeah,
Chapter 1,
sense.
Extreme Ownership. Because I think, I mean, as it says in the intro, all of these kind of boil down to taking ownership, right? Like without ownership, none of this matters because there's always ways to like offload on other people, right? And I don't know if you guys, so one of the authors, Jocko Willink, he gave a TED Talk, and that TED Talk was basically telling this story of the first chapter of Extreme Ownership with the like the friendly fire incident, and that's blue on blue, exactly. And it's, I mean, you hear about like blue on blue in the military, and it's like such a impactful thing when it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Because obviously it's a horrible,
I mean, and funny, when I read that chapter, I'm like, wow, this vaguely sounds familiar. So I think I definitely had heard it before. Him talk about it elsewhere. Yeah.
I'm sure, because you've heard some of the podcast episodes, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. But anyway, so basically, for those who haven't figured out yet by what we're talking about, extreme ownership is basically you take ownership, you take responsibility for everything that happens around you, whether it's, I'm leading a team and one of my team members completely like without my knowledge does something, it's still my fault because he is my team member and my responsibility, right? Like it's so easy to push off responsibility on other people, especially if they're the ones doing the wrong. But there's always ways to take ownership. And then I think if you don't take ownership, it's basically you're basically saying you don't have the power, right? Because you can't influence
Right.
something if you don't have control over it. So saying you have control over it, taking ownership means you have power
Right.
To
over
blame
it all
other
of a sudden.
people when
Right?
it's framed this way is essentially just relinquishing control of the situation. So
Right.
Right, and relinquishing responsibility, right? Like the whole, like the civilian example he gave with the vice president of, what was it, like manufacturing
Yeah.
or something, is basically like he was blaming his teams for not getting his
the
project
CTO,
done.
right? Or
No, it was a
Right.
VP of something, of manufacturing, and he had to like report to the board, and he didn't want to report
Yeah.
that he failed in
Right.
executing his plan, even though it was his plan. But so the one thing in that chapter that kind of stuck out to me is Jocko asked him basically, if one of your subordinate team leaders came to you and said that team failed, who would you blame? And he said he would blame that leader, not the team. So then he's like, well, why aren't you blaming yourself for
Right.
the failure of the overall team, right? So that's, I mean, it seems like it seems like an obvious
But
choice.
yeah.
You know, me picking chapter 1, but like
people are
I don't
very
know.
good at
It's
trying to make
important.
themselves feel better about a situation that's already not looking so well, I think. So it's kind of our, it's almost a natural instinct-ish, but it's also counterproductive in the grand scheme of things. So definitely, yeah.
I mean, and come on, and I think we've.
Yeah, of course.
Well, okay, I can say I definitely done it. I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely done it.
Done what?
Offload. Yeah.
Oh, like put,
of course, definitely.
blamed other people.
It is.
Yeah, of course. It's such a human instinct, but now that it's like you recognize it, it's so obvious when
Right.
someone
It's
is
really
just
obvious
making
and
And like
excuses.
every time, yeah,
And
it is.
also-
It can be. I mean, and
No, it is not just. And it's like you wish
Yeah.
they just own it, you know, like just say you're wrong. You're doing like once you experience. I feel like once you experience someone who takes ownership, it's so much harder to deal with
And it's
someone
not
who
even
does not
that,
take ownership.
Like we're trying to be vindictive, I think, or at least for me, it's that if they would just take that, or like it's not
Vindictive.
like just take ownership, like stop blaming other people. It's more like if you did take ownership of what was going on, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We would all be in a happier place. It's not. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So just
Yeah.
take ownership. You know, I think doing it the first time is,
yeah,
I think, the
definitely.
hardest. Right. Because you're so conditioned to just, you know, like immediately think the first excuse possible, you know, throw it out, you know. But I think once you start doing it, it's like you realize, first of all, it's better for you. You're happier. The work is actually better. And people around you actually respect you because they see what you do. You know, it's whatever. We could go hours on this, but it's
Right.
like it's such a important, right? It's good. Cool. Okay, that was the first part. Super cool. Second part. Who wants to go?
No.
Okay, so
I didn't read past
so
that
Andrew, you
part.
didn't read past, right? The first part. Great. Okay. So then Simon and I we'll see. I'm very curious to see if we
yeah,
pick
I
the same
doubt it.
one. And you give
We'll
your
see.
input, Andrew. I don't know, Simon.
Prioritize
We'll
and
see.
execute.
What did you pick?
Oh, really? I thought you were going to pick
Yeah, I picked
decentralized
the same one.
command. Actually. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
No. Because. Well, okay. So,
Okay.
well, you go.
Prioritize
go ahead,
and
go
execute.
first.
Basically, when you are in a situation where you have a lot of problems at the same time, and you got to figure out what is the highest priority for you to deal with. What is the problem that needs the most attention? And then once you figure that out, and once you get rid of that problem, you go on to the next problem. And so that's the one I picked.
Yeah, and so Andrew, basically the first part of the chapter where they outline sort of the story from their service. There's basically they're stuck in this house. Someone planted an explosive outside the front door, so they can't get out the front door. They're on this roof that they had to sledgehammer to get onto, and they have basically like windows from buildings all around
and
them
one
that
guy
could have
fell.
like enemies in them. And one of their guy fell through this tin roof and is like fell 20 feet down on the ground and is like unconscious on the ground.
Right.
And they're stuck on the roof because they can't get down. And so they're basically trying to, and he used this as an example to be like, so the principle is called prioritize and execute. And it's like, you have all these different things coming at you at once. Instead of getting overwhelmed, you relax, you assess, and you execute. You prioritize the ones, which one's the most pressing thing, and then you just do it.
Right.
And then you figure out what's the next, you know what I mean? Instead of letting yourself getting overwhelmed with all these things coming at you and then not
And
actually
with that, they eventually
end up
were
doing
able to
anything.
save that guy that fell. So,
All right.
Right. So, no, I picked this over decentralized command because I feel like in my life, this applies more. Because, especially, I mean, I feel like in the civilian life where it's like we have work, whether it's homework assignments or, like business work or other types of work, we have a lot of different things. And I think analysis paralysis happens a little too often where it's just, you have all these things and you end up not doing anything.
Like when, especially when, if you're one to procrastinate on schoolwork, or if you want to learn how to do something, or if you have all these ideas, just, you got to figure out, what makes the most sense to do?
I think.
Right.
Yeah, or what's the most imminent,
even
right?
for the
Or what's the
purposes
most
of
important?
entertainment.
Go ahead, Andrew.
You go with someone to an amusement park, and it's just like, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? And then it's like, this has happened to me so many times. Yeah.
Just make it decisiveness.
What do we do first?
Hey man, what do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. What do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. What do you want to
My
eat tonight?
cousins do that all the
I hate
time.
it so
It drives
much,
me
man.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
oh, dude. Let me not say because I'm gonna offend the opposite
kidding.
gender. But anyway, yeah, 100% correct. Yeah, even if it's not a long list of priorities, just doing.
And then when that happened,
action,
that happened before. I'm like,
action,
okay, guys,
right?
we're doing this. We're going to Shake Shack, or we're going to McDonald's. Well, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, just an example.
McDonald's.
Okay.
What are you doing, bro? What do you do? What kind of example is that? So the example that he used for this chapter for the civilian side, I don't know if you remember, is basically, and this like really resonated with me, is basically C-suite executives trying to execute on too many projects and initiatives at once, right? And I've experienced this like with work and with other things. It's like you're trying to do this project and then this and then this and then, oh, it would be awesome. You know what I mean? It's like you have too many things going on, which means you can't actually do any single one of them properly, right? You do like a half-assed job for all of them versus focus 100% on one, get that done, and then next one, get it done. You know what I mean? Such a good thing. I feel like that was a lot more straightforward than the first one. Any other
I'm
notes
curious,
on this?
what's a decentralized command, or should I read it?
No, I got you. It's basically, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's basically saying you need to give your subordinates authority and command. You cannot have them refer to you for every single little decision. Like you need to give them, like obviously take ownership, but then give them responsibility. Give them the ability to make decisions.
I see. All right.
And then hold them accountable. You know what I mean? Basically saying, within the military aspect, decentralized command is that if, the one commander guy gets shot or taken out, you want the team to be able to like seamlessly continue and without, you don't want the whole team to fall apart. Which is, and then in the business example, it's basically, you don't want every single member of the organization coming to the leader to ask every single little, you know what I mean? You want them to be able to do stuff on their own. Which it's actually funny you mentioned this because I feel like this is a very common misconception of the military is that like everyone is like strict and it's always yes sir and follow the orders and you know what I mean? There's no
not at all
input
portrayed that way in here.
Especially within special operations. it's like so much involvement from the bottom up. You know, I don't remember where I got this example. It might have been from his podcast. It might have been from a different. I don't know, and I'm definitely butchering this. But the idea was that there was a junior, like the lowest grade officer in, I'm guessing, the Navy or the Marines or something. Very like a lieutenant level, right? Like super, super low. And that person, I think, like pointed out a flaw with an operation that they did, like in training, that went wrong. And then the commander was like, oh, okay, you saw this problem. Why don't you lead it next time? And basically this junior officer led like an entire, like basically led an operation that's like, and I'm definitely butchering a bunch of details, but that's like the idea of it, is like giving them responsibility.
Yeah.
And
that makes
just,
sense.
you know what I mean? Like not being so like egotistical about
like
needing
delegating
to be in control all the time.
And he does discuss ego and
delegation.
Yeah.
Right.
He does, yeah, exactly. So cool stuff.
Next part is
Y'all ready?
sustaining victory.
And, what'd you pick, Simon?
So I picked lead amidst uncertainty, or decisive.
Ooh, perfect. We didn't. Wait, what?
Decisiveness amidst uncertainty.
Decisiveness. Ooh, we picked the same one again. We picked the same one again. Okay, so let me go first this time then. Basically, the story... Ooh, all right, there's a motorcycle outside. All right. Basically, the military story gives, to make a long story short, there is... oh, you guys saw the movie, right? Chris Kyle, American Sniper?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, so this is the guy... So this sniper is under... Oh, yeah, so for Andrew, who didn't read this part, the main character of... Or whatever. One of the people in this story is Chris Kyle, who is on the team with Leif
I was
Babin,
excited
who
about
is
that.
on the
It's
team with
mentioned in the
Jocko, like,
preface. I was
whatever.
like, the American Sniper guy's in here.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, he has a sniper rifle, right? He's like looking out a window in a building, and he sees this shadow in the window of a guy like holding a rifle. And he calls it in. He's like, man, like I see this guy in the window, but I can't see him clearly. Like I'm not able to confirm if he's an enemy or not. And he calls the ground commander, and the ground commander's like, no, like we don't have anyone in that building. Go ahead and kill him. But Chris is like, no, like I can't actually confirm.
Right.
Like he basically refuses to kill him, and he's like, you need to go like raid that building and like with soldiers, right? Like go send soldiers and raid it so you can figure out who it is. And I mean, long story short, they run out, to go raid that building, and Chris sees, and Leif's with him, and they see that those soldiers that are running out from the building that the guy is in. And it turns out that they mistake the building so that the guy that he was actually looking at was one of the friendlies with, like, they basically mislabeled the building on a chart. And so they were looking at friendly. So if he had listened to the ground commander and actually shot, he would have killed like an American guy. And so the whole thing about this is this decisiveness amid uncertainty, right? He was getting pressured from a bunch of different sides to go ahead and kill this guy. He's already, I mean, it's not like he's never killed anyone. He's killed a bunch of people. It would be easy, right? But sticking, like, recognizing his, like, the thought, like, oh, maybe, like, I don't actually know who this guy is, and then sticking to it, even if other people are telling you to do something, Simon, anything to add?
No, just that. It's like if he had shot the guy, then the amount of guilt that could kill someone.
Yeah, I wrote down this thing. It's called the chaos of incoming stimulus, paralyzed by fear, must act decisively amid uncertainty based on limited information, right? And so basically just, I mean, the default should be, like, if you have a gut instinct, right, like he had, follow it like if you know something to be true, follow it, even if you're being pressured.
Right.
Like
Otherwise, if you think it's right, you know what I mean? And it's basically, I guess boiling this whole thing down, it's basically having confidence, even if
so
you're
trusting
uncertain.
yourself, basically.
And in this case, he did the right thing because he wasn't clear. Like there was no black and white. Like it wasn't clear as to whether or not the guy was a threat or not, and who the guy was. So yes.
Right, and they could have definitely, like, it could have easily been the other way, right? Like, that guy could have actually been an enemy sniper, and when those guys have, like ran out to go raid the building, he could have, like, killed a few, like, Americans, right? Like, that could have happened also. But the point is, if he wasn't sure, then stick to it, right? I actually have a super... So, okay, well, I'll say this. There's a movie reference I want to... an investing example, actually, but let's get through this. So the civilian example of this is the two. Well, you want to explain this?
So there was this what is that company, right? And there were these two guys in the company that did not get along, and then. Right.
Eduardo and Nigel.
And I can't for the life of me remember the names of command, but the bosses of those two guys, it was a guy and a girl. What were their titles again?
Like the title, Jim and something. I don't remember.
I don't remember what
Jane
their title was, but they were...
One was a CEO. Jim, I think, was a CEO, and the other person was like the head
right, and basically
director or something or other.
They were figuring out, well, I don't want to lose these two, but then what do I do? And then Jocko.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Let me pose it to Andrew. Actually, let me give you this example. You tell me what your solution is. Okay, you have these two teams that are, say, like I don't remember if they were programmers or not, but let's say they're programmers, right? Two separate teams. Working on like similar, projects like towards a common good, right? The two team leaders do not get along. They just hate each other. They're like sending emails to the boss saying like, "Oh, the other guy, is like is bad," and "Oh, I'm gonna if you want me to keep working, you need to fire the other guy." And the same thing with So basically, these two team leaders just are being. Very, very, what is it called? Like, acid or cancerous, like, whatever. Very toxic. That's the word I'm looking, toxic. Being very toxic, impacting the productivity of the whole business. The problem is, like, if you lose them, you might impact the actual ability for the company to produce what they produce, right? Whether it's like software, whatever. What would you do?
I suppose logically the best thing to do would be to reappoint these people. I mean, demote them and
so demote them.
Leaders.
But keep them within the organization.
That would be my default response: is to find a way for them to work in some other capacity, whether that's a more minor role or. Whatever that may be, and just substitute in more people who are more capable of the job.
Yeah. So I might be. I mean, obviously, I might be biased because obviously I read it, so I know what he says. But my red flag with what you just said is you're not actually removing the toxicity from the company. Right, like they're still there with the people making problems. Right.
So I'm just moving a problem.
I don't know. I mean, again,
problem to becoming a smaller.
Yeah.
You're just pushing the problem around. Yeah. So basically, his solution was just fire them. And before he said fire them, it's promote junior people. First of all, find out are there junior, because usually the junior people have a greater understanding of the granularity, right, of the project, since they're the ones actually working on it. So figure out if there are junior people who are able to step into their positions, which in this case there were. So then fire them, get them out, and start fresh.
I was trying to compromise between that and my uncertainty, but I guess that's.
Oh, perfect. No. Perfect. You said that. Before Jocko said that, right? He was like, what do you think you should do? Like, he asked that person, the leader, right? And she was like, I think I'm going to let things play out. Like, I'm just going to see how it develops. So he's like, okay, so you're deciding not to decide, basically. Like, you're deciding not to actually do anything. Which, in most cases, I would say, if you phrase it like that, I think I think it's clear that it's maybe not the right thing, right? Like, deciding to not decide. Oh man, dude, I had a perfect movie thing, and now I forgot it from the previous one. Hold on.
Shake Tag.
Oh man, Chaos says, got it. Have either one of you seen the movie The Big Short?
I've been recommended it, but no.
Heard of it?
Yeah, I think I might have told you guys this or whenever I saw it, or re-saw it. Basically, it's a movie about the 2008 financial crisis, right? And it follows these like 4 or 5 different small groups of people, and basically they are in the movie they are recognizing, like in the year or two leading up to the financial crisis, they're recognizing what's going to happen, and they decide that and everyone has their own reasons, right? But basically, they all decide, let's take advantage of the situation, right? Some do it out of revenge, out of spite for the big banks. Some do it because it's like, that's their job or whatever. And basically, they all short the real estate market. They short credit default lines, and shorting is whatever. We don't need to get into that. But basically, they're betting. They put their money towards betting that the housing market will crash,
right?
Which it does, obviously, right? 2008. But in the year or two leading up to the crash, every single Wall Street analyst, big bank, everyone is hating on them. Like, you guys are stupid, and you know what I mean? It's complete hate. This is what it reminds me of. It's, you see the math in front of you. You're confident in your decisions. Don't waver from it, even if you're getting contrary notice. And they didn't. And one of the guys made like $4 billion for his fund. The other guy made, I think, 60 or 70 million. Whatever. They all made a fat ton of cash. But they wouldn't have if they had wavered and been like, all these people can't be wrong.
No, I see that. All right.
So, which I like. It's like, if you do the math yourself and you're confident in your decision, either you think you're wrong, in which case redo it to the point where you don't think you're wrong, or you're not wrong, in which case stick to it. I don't know, man. It's that it just reminded me of The Big Short, maybe because I recently saw it.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are countless times, even just during a quiz or an exam, where you're looking at these choices and you're thinking to yourself, like, I know this one's not right, this one's not right, and this one's not right either. So is it this one, or did I remember wrong? Is this one actually right? And the worst kind of situation.
Perfect.
Because just
perfect example, bro. C's always right. You know that. C's for correct. When in doubt in a multiple choice question, put C for correct.
All right. D is all,
E, none of the above. D is all of the above. I'm so happy you remember it. Yeah. So, okay.
I mean, what
did we think of this book?
Am I finished reading it and recommend it to other people?
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah.
Are you actually going to finish reading it?
Awesome.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I think so. One thing that I thought was well done with this book, obviously, good leadership practices, all that stuff.
Yeah,
very super well organized, right? Like, it's like very easy to refer to different sections. But what I would say is really well done is translating
to the
military stuff to stuff that it's actually applicable to a majority of people reading it. because like there's so many military books out there, even leadership books, and it's like if you've never been in the military, like how are you supposed to? First of all, how are you supposed to understand it? And second of all, even if you understand it, how do you apply it
Right.
to a living that doesn't consist of you carrying a gun, right? Like, so I don't know. It's good. Like the business examples I thought were helpful.
So
Yeah.
maybe just think of samurai proverbs now. It's like, remember to always sharpen thy blade. I'm like, how does this help me today?
Dude. Oh, bro, we are so one of the books we have on the list is the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. I am excited to read that book because I bet you it is that.
Exactly.
It is that type of thing. Where is he? 14th century, 15th century samurai, basically.
Famous Japanese samurai.
We'll get into it.
Don't.
Okay, listen, your Asianness is coming out. Did I tell you? Did I tell you about the scene in the Big Short movie where did I tell you about this Asian thing? Okay, so for anyone who has never seen The Big Short, you need to YouTube this scene, and it's basically. So I told you like the movie follows like 4 or 5 different people, right? One of those groups of people, they get pitched. Like this guy comes into their office, and it's like, yo, the real estate market is going to crash in 2 years. Like I did all the, like all the math is done. I just want to be part of it. Like, let me profit with you guys, And they're all like, no, you're crazy. Real estate market's not going to crash. Like, how do you know? And he's like, do you see this guy?
Oh, yeah.
He's my math guy. He's my accountant. You see how squinty his eyes are? He won a math competition in China. He's like the Chinese blah blah blah, and then the camera pans to him, and he's like, "I'm actually from Iowa" or some shit like that. Like, and he's like, "And I came in second place, not first place in China."
Perfect, the guy with modesty. Okay,
I'm good. Oh my god, dude! I died when I saw that scene. Such a good that movie. Okay, I know this is like turning to a plug for that movie. Do you know Anthony Bourdain from CNN, the cooking guy? He's in the movie. Selena Gomez has like a scene in the movie. There's a few others. Oh, dude, it's good. Nice. Brad Pitt is in the movie.
Yeah. Great.
Anyway, good stuff, guys. Any closing thoughts? I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great book. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Have it on hand to refer to whenever you're doubting yourself, like me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, man, it was cool. I will say it was, again, just applying this stuff. It's
definitely makes a world of
difference. You know what I mean? It makes a world of difference. Okay, and then there we go. Cool, guys. Well, for all who's listening, thanks for tuning in again. This was episode, Simon? 6, right? 6 of the Run With Chestnut podcast. For all future episodes or past, you can see us on any podcast platform. Apple Podcast, Spotify, probably Stitcher. Go to runwithchestnut.com for all future things. You can vote on what's the next books, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Follow us on the socials, and we'll catch you later.